Hey, what's going on everyone? Destin here. Well, we recently picked up the F1 8X V2 from Json and went to update some firmware and ran into some issues. Thought about making this as a guide to help others who may run into the same problems. For references, we're using the hotspot PCB Apollo 87HL-T-SC 7U. Heading over to Json firmware page, the Apollo 87H-T-SC is here, and I thought this was the correct file. But in reality, we want to download the 87HL zip file that they have down below. Apollo 87HL holds the proper bin files and Json that we need for this PCB. Now above the files we can find the latest version of QMK TOOLBOX, as we want to install this and run this to update the firmware. If you've updated firmware using the wrong file and the PCB is unusable, don't worry, I got you covered. With QMK TOOLBOX downloaded, we'll go ahead and launch the application and go ahead and click continue. When doing this the first time around, I ended up using the Apollo 87HL-T-SC bin, which is the wrong one. And updating with the wrong firmware caused a ton of issues with the PCB itself. Not knowing which was the right file and going solely based off of what Apollo PCB I picked up, I probably wasn't the first to run into this issue, and more than likely won't be the last. Using the wrong firmware, I followed the steps, got to the end point, and after I finished flashing the PCB, again, it wasn't usable. We should always be mindful when updating firmware to ensure we're not selecting the wrong files, but this is easily something to overlook. If your PCB isn't working, download the 87HL zip and follow along. In the upper right hand corner, we'll go ahead and use the open tab and select the proper bin file from the 87HL zip. Using the TOOLBOX installer variant wasn't working as it should, but when I used the QMK TOOLBOX EXE, it worked as intended. With the correct file loaded, we can make sure the MCU is always set for AT-MEGA32U4. Using Control-N or the tools icon, we'll go ahead and install drivers and let things finish. Once those drivers install, we'll use the flash button next to auto flash. It's important to keep your PCB connected during this step. When finished, you can close safely using exit DFU. The design tab of VIA will load the Json file we got from the 87HL zip. Now when heading to configure the PCB, we should be able to reconfigure, remap, and the PCB should be fixed. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.